Hello, friends. Hello, hello. How are you this morning? Pray that you're doing well. Sorry for being a couple minutes late. We had a few technical difficulties on the front end. It happens. It's a, it's live. It happens 11:11, 3 days a week. So it's sometimes things don't work. It's life. But here we are. We've made it, and I'm glad you're here. Hey, good morning, Karen. Hope you're doing all right. Well, hope you're having some good plans coming up for the holiday. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing okay. It's a little sailboat mug this morning. Little good morning, everybody. A couple more folks coming along, and we'll get going. It is chilly, but I hope it's going to warm up a little bit today as we get ready for Thanksgiving. We are, if you're not tracking it, we're going to have a Thanksgiving service with the Fall River uh, Council of Churches over at the Somerset Baptist Church at 7 o'clock tonight, which will be a great fun. It's always a joy to worship with my colleagues in the area, and then tomorrow we'll have our Thanksgiving service at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night, right here at 282 Rock Street. So I hope you can find your way here to be a part of that too. All right, friends, let's get going. It is the 21st day of November on this Tuesday, at 11:11, and I am glad that you're here. I'm glad you're a part. I'm glad that you might come to spend a little time together and to know some joy this day. I hope it brings you some joy. So this is from the 18th chapter of Matthew. We often read this text when we talk about the baptism of children, but it has a much deeper sense and a much deeper connection uh, that than just what we bring to this. Than just the sacrament of baptism. So let's this is the beginning of the 18th chapter. So, at that time, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who was the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" And he called a child, whom he put among them. And he said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever becomes humble like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me." I love this passage, and there's just all kinds of reasons. But the first is uh, what Jesus is talking about is this when he says, whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. That there's a love and a specialness for for a child in our midst. That there's something beautiful in this sense of what Jesus is suggesting in terms of the love of what it is to have kids around, to be with children, to have and to welcome them in all the different ways that we're called to. And so this is something really beautiful, and it's not that radical for us to kind of consider this notion. But in the first century, in the ancient world, modern parenting ideas were not exactly in vogue. There was really a very different idea of how you're to treat children and how you're to raise them. And this notion that you might welcome one in was in many ways unheard of. But more than that, I want to kind of come to this I think the heart of what this little passage is talking about, the idea that we might become like a child. Now, I think a lot of us, in some ways, think about this as being childish. Or maybe we don't, but it's um, uh, I think we lose our focus, or we lose our ability to say, on this thing, on this moment, on this time, we're going to get the opportunity to kind of let our hair down, or let ourselves play like a child would play with the fullness of our being. And there's something very unadult about that. There's something very prohibitive of that. That, what will people think? What would people say of us? But I'm reminded that, two of the probably the heaviest hitters, J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, who were both on faculty at Oxford, they would often stage duels and sword fights. Pretend sword fights with, like, I mean, they didn't have foam swords, but with kind of like fake swords or imaginary swords, and they would be seen regularly, actually, in the quad in Oxford. I mean, these are two Oxford Don professors. You can't get any more uptight than that. And yet, here were these two titans of literature, two incredible minds, two both wounded and decorated war veterans, who had seen the most horrible and most difficult and most brutal of life, and they would stage sword fights in the while often, because they were both medievalists, while often kind of taunting each other in medieval English. And and this was not a one-off. This was the thing that would happen every so often. That there was that it wasn't just this notion of playfulness that they would talk about, or the idea of imagination that they would bring into, but they actually lived this out. There was a lightness of being to these guys, Tolkien and Lewis, that both in their friendship and in the way that they held the world, that they weren't afraid to be silly in some ways. Now, I'm not suggesting that's always the doorway or always the path, but what it does belie us is actually kind of some of the qualities that I think Jesus is pointing us towards, that will bring us joy, that will bring us happiness, and that will bring us into relationship with God. And that which is really the source of all happiness and all joy and all those things, that to really to let ourselves relax into that relationship, versus like we've got to white knuckle it, or we've got to be appropriate, or we've got to be right, or but to simply, and that doesn't mean don't hold ourselves to high standards and don't do hard things. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't be serious people about serious things. But we can be serious. We can be really serious without losing our sense of relationship or joy or even playfulness. When I was on the Camino, I kind of made some friends there. One guy's a guy by the name of Matt Donovan. He and I became, I really consider him a friend at this point. Really, we walked a lot together. I really came to enjoy him, and so we would, when we got in one day at a city called Ponferrada, and Ponferrada is kind of famous for having a Templar castle, and they've done a lot of work on it. They've restored it. You can literally run through this castle and it be like you can get the glimpses of what the Templars were up to, what it looked like, what the operations were like, and what these incredible knights, 500-600 years ago were up to in the north of Spain. And so he and I kind of went up into the castle, and we wanted to go see it. So we kind of get in, we pay our ducats to get in, and we're cruising around. And before you know it, we're kind of we've been hiking all day anyway, and we're on the Camino, so we tend to move quickly, but we find ourselves almost not sprinting, but moving quickly from room to room. I actually started to notice that we were kind of like we were kind of acting like two little kids. Like, I mean, I'm fairly juvenile most of the time anyway, if you know me. And Matt, and Matt's a, great guy, but a serious guy as well. But is a serious guy too. Like, he's one of the first special operators in Afghanistan at the beginning of the war. He was he had seen a lot of violence in the course of his duty. He'd given great service. He'd done a lot and offered a lot. Had you know I'd like to think that he and I have enough data points at this point. We're both about the same age. He's a couple of years older than I am. That we both have enough data points in this world to understand, and him particularly have enough data points in this world to understand that really there's a lot of cruelty in this world. There's a lot of pain in it. There's a lot of places that things fall apart, and they hurt, and they will nearly bring us to the point where we come undone. And yet, all of those things have no good reason, no good purpose for us not to dwell in joy, not for us to be able to be like two little kids exploring a castle, not to be able to still maintain a sense of wonder and a sense of beauty and a sense of awe. I think it's part of one of the things that I got to touch on pilgrimage was this kind of being withdrawn from the life that I carry and the life that I'm a part of, to be able to free myself a little bit to experience that life. Now now what does that look like? And this isn't about like, oh, I'm such a great and faithful guy. That I'm not, and that's not what I'm suggesting, or even that Matt is. He's not. But it is this. But it is this entry into. It is this observation. It is this noticing of the Lord's process with us, of what God's actually doing with us. That with our ability to be on our own little quad in another country far away years later, still pretending to be knights and pretending to have this moments and these times of joy and wonder. And my invitation to you is, I think that's what God is pointing us to, and that there's actually three qualities to that. The title of today's talk is of 11:11 is Fat Kids, and it's put that, and that's not about how many Cheetos any particular child might eat, but I think it's really what our call is to be in relationship with Jesus. When Jesus is saying, unless you're like a child, you'll never enter the kingdom of heaven. And that's not a threat. It's not even it's an invitation. And that those qualities that Jesus are pointing at, I think, are FAT. That we really are called to these three qualities. Now there's other parts of it and there's other things, but these are things I think that we need to be in our life, and that what every child naturally is. Every child naturally have these three qualities. They were born with them, and we as adults we outgrow them, rightly, because we have to have some capacity and capability in this world, but we are meant to retain them in the face of our Maker. We are meant to retain these qualities in the face of Jesus the Christ, who calls us home, who's blazed the trail for us, who invites us into his table to feast. And that part of that invitation is that retaining these qualities, not for the whole world or not for everybody, but retaining these qualities of a child so that we might be in right relationship to the one who made us. And so there are these three qualities. The acronym is FAT. The acronym is acronym. That's something else. That's another word that Andy's making up today. The acronym is FAT. FAT. We need to be faithful. It's the meaning we have to have it, and that doesn't. And don't get all weird when you hear that. That does not mean you have to be buried in your Bible every minute. That doesn't mean you have to be a part of this incredible kind of some sort of deep Bible study. You know, I mean, you have to have bloody knees for the time that you spend in prayer. You have to have a desire to lean into relationship with God. And that means having some sense of wanting a relationship, of wanting to be able to know more, to be more in God's kingdom, to be developed, and that have some idea of what that looks like and what that means. Now, it's great to have some disciplines around that, and I'm a big fan of the disciplines of the church. We should pray, we should spend time in Bible, but that's not at the heart of what this means. It's about trust in essentially. It's about really trusting that God has us, and that we go in and out of this on any given day. It doesn't mean we're not afraid. Doesn't mean we don't get angry. Doesn't mean we don't have a human experience in it. But it means we lean into this our idea of faithfulness, our idea of trusting God. The second thing is available, that we make ourselves available. We actually spend some time at this. We think about it where we often, if we have a partner or we have a husband or a wife or we just have a friend or a family member or anybody, if you never spend any time with them, they get moody. They do, and God's more kind than any other person in our life, but there's still there's a desire. If they have a desire to spend time with us, we need to have a desire to spend with them, and we need to be available to it. So we need to open our lives up, and and think about it through this idea about like a child, where we where children are available, because we have some mastery over their schedules. Well, why can we not kind of come at it understanding our lives that way, that we give God some mastery over our calendar, where we give God some mastery over Sunday mornings, where we give God some mastery over some Sabbath time, where we give God some mastery over spending time in things. So we make ourselves available. The third thing is teachable, is that so many of us have either been doing this by ourselves. We have to run things. We have to be capable. We have to be large and in charge all the time. And that one of the things that can do in the world it can harden us away from being teachable. That children, by and large, when you encounter them with something, they're curious. They like, what's that about? They think they want to investigate more. They want to actually open themselves to, not everybody's that way. People are always different. I get it, but it's an inherent quality of a child, and that we too can take up this idea of being fat kids. That we can be fat, not just in the idea of whatever the scale says. That's not what I'm talking about. But we can be faithful and available and teachable to God. That we can be like children, and that can open us to letting God kind of pull us and lead us towards the kingdom of heaven. Like, this is what it looks like. The kingdom of heaven isn't in a place to arrive, isn't going to arrive. It's not a thing that's one day we're going to get there, like the Wizard of Oz. That although there is a real pilgrimage notion to this, but it is, the kingdom of heaven is present when we're present in such a way, because heaven's right in that. Because those are the places that you get to take a friend out on the quad and yell at them in old English and have a sword fight. That's what you get to run through a Spanish castle with a new friend that you've made, and like a little kid, where you get to have some breath and some openness and some joy and some light in your heart and your being and your soul. The kingdom of heaven is not there, far away. Look at, trying to see it through a telescope or through a microscope or someplace else. But it's right present in our midst. And if we can open ourselves to it, it's not that it's going to come in. It's already present. And it's actually the opening of ourselves to it. That is the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven isn't a thing out here that we have to open ourselves to. The kingdom of heaven actually already is the opening, because it is the foundational matrix of reality. It is the foundational reality in which we all stand. It is the Logos, which I won't beat to death yet again, but it is this sense of what is really real in this world. And it is real beyond all understanding. It is real beyond all life and all creation. It actually holds and encompasses and boundaries all that happens and could happen, that it is the order of things that is beyond our ability to mess up or screw up, and that we can stand in this reality, and in our standing in it, we are already in the kingdom of heaven, like a child, like a fat kid. So friends, my hope for you today is that you'll be a fat kid this week, because you'll eat an extra piece of pie. You'll be silly with a child that you encounter in your days. You will have some fun. You will open yourself to some joy. You'll be faith. You'll let some faithfulness in. You'll trust God, what God's doing with your life. You'll be available. You'll make a little space to spend a little time with the one who made you, and you'll be willing to kind of set down your own will, set down your own agenda, set down your own being, and hear what he has to say to you. For whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. And friends, you are welcomed into the kingdom of heaven every second. Hope you become a fat kid this week, and not just from the pie. All right, friends, peace and grace to you, and we will pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11.